Hello, everyone, and welcome to Storypath Showcase, where we get together with different groups and we run through various games using the Storypath system from Onyx Path Publishing. I'm Travis Legge, my pronouns are he, him, and I will be your story guide for this Trinity Continuum Core event. Let's go ahead and meet our players, shall we? Let's kick things off with Ryan. Ryan, please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and I think that's all we need at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm Ryan. My pronouns are they, them. You might have seen me on the channel before, actually, because I do behind the screen. That's as Comrade Bubbles bi-weekly and stream on Twitch. And I do Patreon-y things as the Moonlit Bard.
Sweet. Excellent. Next up, Alexis, please give us your pertinent details.
I'm Alexis Taylor. I don't have a huge internet craziness. You can look at me on Instagram at Secluded Moment.
Wonderful. And last but most certainly not least, Mitch, please give us your pertinence.
Hi, I am Mitchell, also known as Penny Fertel on all the social media. I do streaming for TTRPGs marketing, and I also develop my own games. And yeah, that's it. Happy to be here.
Well, happy to have you. And as I mentioned earlier, we are playing Trinity Continuum Core. We have decided to sort of do like a group build. We're doing a little bit of experimenting as well with our good friends over at Astral Tabletop using a sheet that I've designed to work in that platform. So let's make sure that that's all working. If you run any problems with the sheet, feel free to speak up, let me know so I can get that fixed for you. The setting of Trinity Continuum Core is kind of 15 minutes into the future. It's basically, at the first glance, the world that we all inhabit. But there are extraordinary events and extraordinary people in it, largely due to an extraordinary energy known as flux. Certain people are able to channel this energy. Some objects are able to channel it. And it can create a wide range of sort of sci-fi kind of effects, but can also be incredibly innocuous to the point that many people who are what's known as talents, people who are able to channel flux, aren't even aware of their own nature. So you might just think you're good or lucky and be channeling flux, or you could be a scientist who studies it, or an archaeologist, because flux energy has been around throughout the ages and manifested in various ways. What I'd like to do to get us started off first, and this is a little bit outside of the standard character creation approach, but I think because we're trying to build a campaign together from the ground up, this will be a fun way to tackle it. There are a number of allegiances in the Trinity Continuum. And I think for group harmony and to help sort of also decide sort of what subgenre we want to play in, I think it might be of benefit to us to decide which of those we'd like to belong to and have everybody either belong to the same allegiance or at least have connection to that allegiance. So maybe if one of you wants to play a double agent or someone who is a defector from one allegiance and trying to earn their way into another one, like that's all cool. But I do think we should all at least have a connection to a central allegiance. Does that sound fair and workable to everybody?
Works for me.
And have you all had a chance to look at the allegiances that are in Trinity Continuum Core, at least in a glance sort of fashion?
Not yet. Let me see.
Okay. If you look at the core book, they start on page, looks like 159. I'm going to grab my nice fancy Dead Tree analog book and rock it old school.
So shiny.
It is. It's very pretty. I got it in the recent Drive-Thru RPG print on demand sale. But I would be remiss if I did not mention that the Trinity Core Continuum Core book and all of the Trinity Continuum books are available at your friendly local game store. Just go in and ask them for it. If they aren't carrying it, they should be able to order it. So starting on page 160, the first allegiance is called 9. And they're kind of, I guess, a cross between sort of a more ethical think tank / investigative agency with hints of like your government contractor organizations, like almost like a moral Halliburton, if you will. They started out as a government agency, but in the 80s largely started to privatize. And their focus is on investigating strange and unusual occurrences and approaching that from kind of a law enforcement perspective. Make sense? It's a very, very, very brief and very, very, very summarized overview, which I'm going to give for all the allegiances. The next up is the Aeon Society. The Aeon Society is a largely philanthropic organization that's existed since the early 20th century. They have kind of always historically studied the unusual, studied things like flux, studied these ancient ruins and fantastical stories, and tends to fall into the sort of wandering adventure hero kind of category. Just about anyone can be a member, and they often try to recruit sort of diverse groups to work together. And there's a definite, though there's not like a strict hierarchy or strict structure, there's a definite support system that comes along with the Aeon Society. And the only real, I guess, quote unquote, requirements of membership are, be the best you can be, don't extend the misery in the world, and try to gather this information to get it back to the central sort of structure. Make sense? Any questions about the Aeon Society?
Do they have like any particular agenda that they're trying to push besides just like the study and pursuit of what flux is?
Yeah, their motto is hope, sacrifice, and unity. Their idea is that mankind can be better, humankind can grow. And it's up to those people who have the greatest grasp of technology, of the humanities, of science, to usher that in by whatever means possible, whether that be preventing bad technology from getting out into the world, or whether that be pushing an advance that's going to help. The Aeon Society tends to attract people of means, and they tend to use that means charitably on top of their adventuring. So there is a component of like community outreach, things along those lines, though they have shuffled off some of that over into another one of the allegiances called the Neptune Foundation, which is kind of an offshoot that deals largely with like crisis response and acting in areas that are otherwise imperiled. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does that answer the question? I guess this is more to the point. Cool.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Next up is Archangel, which is founded in 2008. It's relatively new. It's founded by a rich Spanish noble whose child had been kidnapped. And he basically hired a bunch of mercenaries to go get his kid back. And his kid was retrieved, but his kid's best friend was not, who was also the child of one of his staff. And realizing that the only reason he got his child back was because he had a great deal of resources to throw at people to make it happen, he founded Archangel, who basically operate to help those who have no one else to help them. But in like a leverage the TV series, The Equalizer, Charlie's Angels kind of way. Word gets around about them. The right people find out, this person needs help, and then a team gets sent out to address that. So those are very sort of, who's the corrupt person of the week that we're going to go and punch in the jaw kind of situations. Kind of a Robin Hood sort of, almost. There's the Global Cartography Initiative, which are basically explorers, and their principal agenda is, get out there, learn what's out there, find things that have not been discovered, push the envelope of human knowledge. Neptune Foundation, we've basically already discovered. It's very much around like crisis response, or focusing on integrity, courage, and kindness in the face of adversity, that sort of thing. The last major allegiance is the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers, who are effectively, they're very similar to Archangel, but they operate much more in the flux-related space. So they tend to worry about super science. They tend to worry about reports of strange creatures, and to catalog, neutralize, where possible, acquire these items, and then get them to their mysterious benefactor, who no one knows the true identity of. A few other smaller allegiances that we can also draw from. There's Alert Status 1, which is very much a harder government organization. So it's like 9, but with more government oversight, if that makes sense. So you very much would be government directed, given specific assignments, kind of an X-Files kind of a situation. There's La Revolte Eclante. I'm sure I am murdering the pronunciation of that. But these are basically a radical organization run in a democratic fashion. They tend to have anti-capitalist, anti-colonization sort of motives, and sort of taking down power structures in that regard. And there is Les Fantômes, the Thieves Guild, effectively. They're a group of thieves and spies and other brigands dating back a couple of centuries, who tend to focus on kind of like your super spy, high-tech heists, with also a slight awareness of flux and an interest in acquiring items that have that particular type of energy. So of those, I know we went through them somewhat quickly. Are there any that leap out at you that seem super cool, or that seem very much not on the table for what you're interested in playing?
I mean, I'm always a fan of heists, or the Global Cartography Initiative's kind of adventure pulp side of things.
Okay, so something more on the adventure side.
Heists is cool. I like the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers and the Archangels.
Me
Okay.
too.
Okay. Okay, so we have the idea of like heists, pulp adventure, and we want to be able to maintain some level of sort of a sense of working for the quote unquote good guys, right? That's kind of what I'm picking up. Does that sound about right?
Man on Fire with like Denzel, that whole movie, because that was a treasure.
Okay. Does that sound agreeable then, Ryan? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Going with one of those two?
I'm just happy to play Trinity, so.
Beautiful. So I guess then the question then becomes, because I think Archangel tends to be more of a slightly mundane, sort of low sci-fi is what it lends itself to a little bit better, whereas Pharaoh's Lightkeeper tends to lend itself more to the more fantastical aspects of the setting. Is there a preference as to how far we want to get into that that sci-fi to where that lever goes?
My personal feeling is if it's a showcase, show the extreme.
Yeah, like fantastical. Let's go.
All right. So we have, I think, then settled on Pharaoh's Lightkeepers for our allegiance. Beautiful. So you'll want to go ahead and if you want to open up that Trinity Continuum Core character sheet on Astral Virtual Tabletop. As you look it over, you'll see a lot of blue text that says edit on it. You can click on that text and type in whatever it is you would like. So for Society Path, you're going to want to put Pharaoh's Lightkeepers. And that will give us a couple of traits that we'll get into. Now that we've got the Society Path and the general tone, we're going to go front to back, top to bottom, basic character creation. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Give me just 1 second to alter my mouse choice, because that one I was using has a noisy scroll wheel. All right.
At least your scroll wheel works.
Yeah. I had to switch back to the Magic Mouse. All right. Did anybody have any issue with making those edits to their sheet? Awesome.
Easy peasy.
Cool. I do offer some apology in advance because it's quite possible that you might run into a bit of difficulty with the sometimes the buttons just are a little touchy on responding, like the dots as you're clicking to fill them in. But doing it a couple times, you'll probably get the rhythm pretty easily. Okay. So going into the core of character creation, that will start on page 35 of your book. And it likes to start things off with concepts. So we have kind of a core idea of what we want to do. We're going to be kind of a team that's put together. There's going to be a heist element to it, and definitely like a higher level sci-fi element to it. So with that in mind, kind of what sort of character would you like to play? What kind of person do you want to be? The first thing you really determine are your aspirations. Okay. And if you scroll down on that sheet, you'll see them on the second page of the sheet. You can copy that template there and paste it into the other 2 lines to fill out all 3 that you'll need to fill out. So each character will have 2 short-term aspirations and 1 long-term aspiration. The short-term aspiration should theoretically be able to be achieved within the span of a game session, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. They are how you earn experience, but if you go through a session and you don't achieve one, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. They should be drivers for who you are, what you want to do. I know, Mitch, you're familiar with Storypath. You've played before. Familiar with Aspirations, correct?
Yeah.
So did you have any in mind for your character?
Oh, man. Geez. So
I can come back to you if you want.
I mean, so the character concept I had in mind was a retired auditor. So maybe short-term aspirations is to be more of do something assertive.
Okay. So center yourself, in a scene kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do something assertive is a great short-term aspiration. How about you, Ryan? Do you have any ideas for a first short-term aspiration?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a stunt driver. So just short-term aspiration of show off behind the wheel.
Beautiful. I love it. Alexis, how about you?
Oh man. Okay. I mean, for short term, that's hard for me. I don't know. I have like a long-term aspiration that I'm thinking of.
Sure, what would that be?
Short-term aspiration would be like take something apart and really like research it thoroughly.
Okay, so like do like a thorough deconstruction of some object,
Get some
item,
kind
idea.
of gadget and literally take it to nuts and bolts and be like, oh, that's how
I love it. Excellent. Go ahead and record that as a short-term aspiration. And you said you had a long-term in mind as well?
Yeah, I really want to interact or like discover something that is sentient alien.
Okay, excellent. I love it.
So either like an artifact or like an actual alien being, something like that. That's what I want to sink my teeth into.
Some sort of proof of intelligent alien life.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a perfect long-term aspiration. So go ahead and record that as well. Were you able to paste it down into the sheet?
I will figure it out.
And if you just right-click on the blue text where it said aspirations, the one line that's in there, and then hit copy text, and then you hit paste, it'll drop another instance of that text there that you can then go in and edit.
Oh.
So you can have 3 separate ones on different lines rather than cramming it all in one box. Or you can cram it all in one box. I'm not your parent, so that's up to you. And then I guess since we've got one short-term and one long-term, did you have a second short-term aspiration in mind?
Not yet.
Right, I'll circle back around. Mitch, do you have a second short-term aspiration or a long-term aspiration in mind?
Punch someone.
All right, throw a punch. That's a good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good short-term. Excellent. And still working on the long-term?
Long-term is be a hero.
Okay, excellent. And Ryan, what do you have in mind for your remaining aspirations?
I'm still thinking of a second short, but a long-term one, and this could go horribly wrong as we're dealing with Flux. Find the perfect engagement gift.
The perfect engagement gift. Okay. I love it. All right. And then, so I know that we had discussed a few basic concept things. So Ryan, you're looking at like a getaway driver type.
Yeah.
Mitch, you're thinking someone who's, I guess I'm picking up like more reserved and more.
Yeah, like if Mr. Rogers was casted for Man on Fire, and they're like, we got to turn this guy into an action hero, and he's like, oh man, welcome to my neighborhood.
I love it. And Alexis, I'm getting a gadgeteer kind of vibe from you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. So as we're filling out the remaining aspirations, just as they pop in, let me know what they might be. Your character is largely defined by the 3 paths that you choose at character creation. We've already gone over the society path, and we'll apply that last. But you will have an origin path, which is kind of where you come from, who you were before today, and a role path, which is the role that you fill in the group. And you'll find those paths starting, there are examples starting on page 41. Just for the sake of expedience and because this is a relatively complete list, especially for the concepts that we're discussing, I suggest we just use the paths that are in the book rather than go through the path creation, because that's a bit time consuming. But so looking at the origin paths, are there any, and again, those start on page 41. Are there any that leap out at you, Alexis?
I was kind of thinking the life of privilege.
Excellent. So go ahead and write that down as your origin path on the first sheet. And you'll also notice under path contacts on the second sheet, you will see you have 3 slots, and so each one of your paths gets a contact, and that contact is rated at 1 dot. Should be able to turn the dots on just by clicking on them. You might have to double click. Let's see. Nope, single click will do it. It just is a little slow. All right. So you can select any of those that are listed, or you can extrapolate from that and pick someone else that is a contact that you have access to from your life of privilege.
Okay.
So thinking in terms of like, what kind of people might you know? You can also look on page 40. There's a couple of suggested tags. Each one of your contacts, you give them 1 tag. So it might be, for example, like let's say your life of privilege is school alumni. It's somebody you went to school with, and they happen to be, now they're a local politician. So you would say school alumni, and then in parentheses, you'd put influential, because that's the tag that you're assigning to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. The other thing that you get from your life of privilege is you'll see the 4 skills that are listed there. You can spend 3 points between those skills. What I would recommend doing is there's the little squares that are next to each skill. On the skills portion of your sheet, I would just click the ones that you get from that group, the squares, so that you know that that's where those points are being spent. It'll also help you later when you go to raise things, because if they're part of a path, they're cheaper. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So you have 3 points to spend between those, and we'll do all of our skills, then we'll circle back around for edges.
Okay.
So we have life of privilege for Alexis. Ryan, what do you have in mind for origin?
Adventurer, definitely. Grew up constantly seeking the next thrill, always chasing an adrenaline rush, never considering the consequences.
Okay. Excellent. And any ideas for a connection for that?
I forget the person. Sorry, I've just revised it to basic stunt actor. But like, I figured the person who trained my character in like stunt driving would be an adequate connection.
Okay. And do you have a tag in mind for that?
Well connected, maybe within the stunting world, or the high adrenaline world, I guess. Sure.
Stunt people and extreme sports people and things along those lines. That works great. And then did you have an origin path in mind, Mitch?
Yeah, Suburbia.
Love it. Contact in mind for that?
Yeah, friendly neighbor. I just don't know what the tag is going to be yet.
Super nice should be the tag.
Yes. I'm going to put that on there. That's perfect.
I love it. Yeah, if you need somebody to like come in and like explain to somebody, see, you understand that when you talk to someone that way, it hurts their feelings.
Yeah. It's like, man.
And you don't like to have your feelings hurt, do you? So again, those skills, the 4 skills that are listed, go ahead and mark those boxes. You have 3 points to spend between them. You can wait to spend them too until, you shouldn't, because sometimes they double up. So yeah, I would spend your 3 points in those skills. Do you have any questions about what any of the skills do? They're all pretty self-explanatory, but I am happy to clarify if there's one that doesn't make sense, or more for that matter.
No, that's good.
Okay, cool.
Easy peasy.
And now we come to our role paths. So let's just stick with Mitch and work our way backwards then. Which role did you have in mind, Mitch?
I'm going back and forth because like he wants to be more of a physical hero, so I feel combat specialist, but I feel like right now he's a charismatic leader. So I don't know which one to go for.
I mean, I kind of love the idea of I'm going to take a role path that's aspirational.
Nice.
Like I'm not good at it, but that's the right, you know.
Let's do it. All right, combat specialist.
And especially if you like, I think you could probably, you know, drop your like 2 dots in integrity and 1 in like athletics or something. Like obviously you have some basic physical, you know, they wouldn't pick me to be like, we're going to turn this guy into an action hero. You know what I mean?
But no, they are going to turn you into an action hero. I would pick you.
Oh, well, thanks. That's very sweet. Yeah, I kind of love that idea of it being like an aspirational.
Yeah. All right. Combat specialist then.
Excellent. Ryan, how about you?
I feel like pilot is probably the best fit without doubling up on combat specialist. So.
Okay, cool. Not that doubling up's a problem, but
no, of course
that also works. And did you have I'm sorry, Mitch, did you have a contact in mind for your combat specialist?
I was going to do training master.
I figured something like that would make a lot of sense. Do you have one in mind for pilot, Ryan?
It says important client, but could that be the talent agency?
Like where you normally get your work through? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Totally cool. And then Alexis, what did you have in mind for role path?
I want to be a technology expert.
Love it. Do you have a connection in mind for that?
A research scientist.
I love it. And did we settle on a connection for your origin path?
I went with the school alumni.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then once you've got your skills spent for those, looking at the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers.
3, right?
Yep, 3 points
3 for that.
For each group of 4. So each role path gives you 3 points. So you're for the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers, they're listed on page 183. That's where you'll find your example connections, skills, and edges.
183. I got it.
And if you were to take like other Lightkeeper teams, like you could either have like other just field operatives that you know, or you might even have like a contact who's like one of their supervisors isn't really like a right word, but like a fixer that's within the organization itself, somebody who does more like assigning things and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like adventurers. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Once those skills have been spent, does anybody have any skill points left? You spent 3 for each of your paths.
Yeah. Yep. Taken care of.
Okay. Now you each get second. There we go. Sorry, my PDF reader is feeling the burn of this running all these things, recording at the same time. Tech happens, as we say on the channel.
Mm-hmm.
You get 6 additional dots that you can distribute among any skill. You just can't take a skill above 5. These can be from anyone that is in your path or anyone that's not in your path.
You said 6, right?
Yep, 6 total points above the path skills. And then if you wind up with any skills at 3 or above, let me know.
I do.
Okay. For each skill that is 3 or above, you may select a specialty. A specialty is an area of expertise within that skill. When that specialty applies to another skill's use, it acts as an enhancement. So for example, let's say you have a humanities specialty in ancient weaponry, and you're down in a tomb and you come across, a bizarre staff that has like a sling on one end of it and a hook. You would be able to say, oh, this is ancient weaponry. I know what this is. When I make my, swing with it, I can add that specialty as an enhancement because I know my way around this weapon because I've studied it. So on and so forth. Same thing if you're investigating the site of a shooting and you have a specialty in pistols under aim, you will get that enhancement trying to like recognize what bullet was used in the shooting, things like that. Does that make sense? They're like, they cross-pollinate. They don't apply to the skill you're rolling. It applies to a complementary skill. Does anyone have any questions about skills so far?
I have 2 skills that are 3 dots, and I think that means that I have to pick tricks.
Everyone starts, so the skill tricks thing trips some people up. Everyone starts with 1 skill trick. You can buy more later. Okay. And you can only buy skill tricks when you have a 3 or more, right? So so like you start with the 1, and then like the first time you get experience, you could buy a skill trick for the other one's 3.
Okay.
But you just get 1. So if you go through anyone that is above 3, that's 3 or above qualifies for a skill trick, but you can only start play with 1 of them.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about how skill tricks work, I'm happy to answer them. You find the skill tricks in the actual skill descriptions, which begin on page 46. How are things progressing up there, Ryan?
I have my dots and my specialties. Beautiful. And my second short-term aspiration as well.
And what's your second short-term aspiration?
Hold my tongue.
Hold your tongue. Wonderful. I love it. I'm a fan of it. Did you select a skill trick?
No, I'm just looking at the ones for pilot and close combat and trying to decide.
There are a few in both of those that I'm a big fan of. Collision Artist is a lot of fun.
It did sound it.
What was the close combat one that I had on my character CB? It was CB Sabluski. That was my homage to B.A. Baracus from the A-Team. I think it was Deadly Strike. Yeah.
Ooh, high pool for mixed actions. Good lord.
Yeah, the character was built around fighting like 7 people at once.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, like Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride.
Did it.
Beautiful. Any difficulties with the sheets or finding what you're looking for at all so far?
No.
Good.
I think I'm going to go with I can figure it out.
And which one is that under?
It's got pilot. It's got 2 pedals and a steering wheel. How difficult can it be?
I love it.
It's basically spend 1 momentum and I can pilot anything for a scene, even if I wouldn't ordinarily be able to.
That'll come in handy if you wind up like in an alien spaceship.
Exactly. It doesn't even have a wheel. How difficult can it be?
Right. So, you got your Will Smith from Independence Day vibe. How about you, Alexis? Any luck on the skill trick front, or are you still digging through?
I'm still thinking. Are we choosing specialties at this point or no?
Yes, yeah. So, and specialties can be pretty much any narrow field within the larger purview of the skill. So there's not like a list to choose from so much as, does this count as a specialty for that? Yeah, probably. Like science could be chemistry. It could be, biology. You could, specializing in one particular field.
Okay.
Technology, you might focus in flux technology, or you might focus in like, mechanics, electronics, things along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And those of you who are done with skills, we can hop up into attributes real quick. So if you'll notice, the way the attributes are on the sheet is you have 3 boxes and there's 3 horizontal lines. Your boxes are what's called your arena, and that's broken up into mental, physical, and social arenas. And then the horizontal lines are your approaches, which is force, finesse, and resilience. They're both relatively self-explanatory. Approach, I think, trips people up a little bit more. The force approach is confronting your problems head on, sweeping obstacles aside. Finesse is a softer approach, one that uses speeds and wit. And resilience is just outlasting your opponent. Make sense? So with that, you're going to choose which of your arenas is most important to your character. And in that, you will spend 6 points. The one dot that's already filled in is free. And you can't raise any of those above 5. In your second, you will spend 4. And in your third, you will spend 2. Make sense? Excellent. And then once you have purchased all of those, you will choose your favorite approach, whether you're going to rely on force, finesse, or resilience most frequently. You'll fill in the box next to that one, and you will add a single dot into each of the attributes related to that favorite approach. If that takes it above 5, move that dot to another attribute in the same approach. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Am I moving too fast, Alexis?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I understand the approach.
Okay.
So I've got that selected. I want resilience to be my approach. And so I have 6 points that I can put in my attributes.
Right. So under attributes, you see the 3 boxes, the intellect, cunning, resolve, might, dexterity, stamina, presence, manipulation, composure. You choose one of those 3 arenas as your most important. That one gets 6 points to spend in it, aside from the first dot, which is free.
Okay.
Then the next most important gets 4, and then the third most important gets 2.
Oh, I'm weak as a kitten.
What did you choose for your favorite approach then?
Resilience.
Is it? Okay. How about you, Ryan?
I also picked resilience, actually.
I love it. A tenacious bunch. And what was yours, Alexis? Your favorite approach?
Resilient.
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, that's awesome.
No one will enter the door, but once the door is open, we're going to kick it out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Perfect. So did everybody get their attributes spent then and figured out? And right now, nobody should have an attribute that's over 5, right? Okay, cool. Did you get the skills worked out, or are we still looking at specialties and tricks, Alexis?
I'm still looking at specialties and the skills. Yeah.
Okay.
And tricks.
Okay. And were there any there that you had questions about, or are you just sifting through them at the moment?
I just am trying to figure out what sort of specialties are going to work.
Okay. Which skills do you have at 3 or higher?
Science. So I put engineering and tinkering as my specialties for science.
Okay.
And enigmas, I have 3 dots in it, but I'm like not really absolutely like pinned on how that skill applies.
So well, you can apply it a couple ways. If you're doing something like, for example, like let's say you're trying to hack a computer or things along those lines, enigmas will apply. Figuring out clues during research and during like analysis of clues, enigmas applies. Enigmas is used like if you are adventuring somewhere like an ancient tomb and there's traps, enigmas is used to sort out traps and things like that as well. Okay. So kind of anything puzzle related, anything that's mystery related,
right.
That would fall under enigmas.
Yes. And what specialty do I want?
That was a tough one.
I think I'm gonna do a research related one.
Okay.
And then you guys can like do all the like hands-on stuff, and I'll just be like, oh right, I read this in a book somewhere. Or on a data pad somewhere.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Looking at my intellect, yeah, we'll need that.
Not the sharpest spoon in the shed, I take it?
No, in fact, my mental approach is a nice pyramid of 1, 2, and 3.
Well, good. You have a nice, strong base. That's important. So let's dive into edges real quick, because this might actually also help figure out what skill trick you want to take, as some of the edges might cover some of those areas and then dovetail nicely into a skill trick. So that is one way to maybe tackle that. For each of your paths, you'll see a list of edges. You can buy any of the edges that are listed there as long as you meet the prerequisites for that edge. You get 2 points to spend on the edges that are listed in each path. So you'll get 2 points for your origin path, 2 points for your role path, and 2 points for your allegiance path, your society path. You will get more edge points. So if there's one that's like, that's a 3-point edge, but I only have 2 points, go ahead and buy it, and then we'll just take that out of the edges you get later. Make sense? So looking at, I know, Ryan, I know you're familiar with the edges. And Mitch, you said you'd played Trinity before, or you've only played Storypath but not Trinity?
Yeah, I've played Aberrant and Scion.
Okay, so you have a passing familiarity with the edges as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna just give Alexis some attention here for the moment to kind of get her up to speed on some of this stuff. So just looking at your origin path first, life of privilege. Your edges are fame, patron, skilled, liar, and wealth. The edges begin on page 57. They're broken up into different categories, and then they're alphabetical within the category. But you can always control F the name of the edge if you want to.
Okay.
And I would recommend kind of looking at them because they each do come with a benefit, and oftentimes there'll be like a drawback or a gotcha about them. Like if you take the fame edge, that's handy, but it also gives an enhancement to anyone trying to find you or find information about you because it's out there. I would recommend anyone who can take it, consider the patron edge, because it comes in very handy when you're like in the middle of an adventure and you're like, oh, if only we had this thing. And it makes a lot of sense for members of the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers anyway. I believe it's one of the edges that is offered by them as well. And that is another way that you can build up. Oddly enough, it's not. That's weird. You'd think. But if you have two paths that offer the same edge, you can spend points from both of those paths on that edge if you want.
Does anybody already know the edges that the Lightkeepers have?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I'll drop them into the Zoom chat so that you've got the permanent reference.
Yeah.
I copied them into a notepad document for ease of reference. So.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll read them out for the good folks at home.
I can't remember off the top of my head, Travis. So we've got two dots. So with the style edges.
Yes.
Does that limit us to the 1 dot version of the edge, or does it just cost 2 dots for the 2 dot and the 1 dot?
Yeah, if you buy the 2 dot, the edges aren't. It's not like an exponential cost.
Cool.
So if you buy 2 dots in it, you have 2 dots of it.
Cool.
It's nothing like that. So the Lightkeepers edges for the good folks at home. They have Artifact, which is super cool. Lets you get a super science device at the start of the game. Danger Sense also comes in handy. Library, Skilled Liar, Small Unit Tactics, and Sniper. So very well trained to gather information, have funny, neat stuff, and slaughter things in short order. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
Nope, I'm just picking them out.
Oh, you're good.
I kind of want to take Swift just for the +1 scale.
It's handy. Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if the wording says otherwise, but that would apply if you're driving place to place between scenes.
It's on foot running.
Is it on foot running? Oh.
Yeah, attempting to run to a location or in a foot race.
That's too bad. But I mean, also good. One of the other fun things that I enjoy about Storypath is that it's very narrative driven, and it does not rely on a great deal of layered system mastery, especially at its core. When you start getting into Aberrant, that gets a little, it can get a little techie.
That's the supers one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
When I'm playing, and
it
yeah,
can,
it does.
It can get crunchy. But a lot of that too, though, I find, and I'm obviously it's still pretty new, the new edition of Aberrant. But I find a lot of that stuff you can, as a player, especially, like pre-calc your stuff so you know what you're doing when you walk into the game. You know what I mean? Like your values aren't going to shift around a whole lot. You know, it's just a matter of figuring out what all adds to my, armor again. But not nearly as big of an issue in core for sure. Point being though is you can get by with relatively low system mastery and pick up and play. I can't believe you've not played Aberrant yet. Ryan, we'll have to fix that.
That would be grand. Dang it, that's a 2. Oh no, you said we get extra edge points, right?
Yes, you do. You will have extra edge points when it's all said and done. Enough that if you buy like 1 or 2 of them over, you shouldn't have a problem.
So if I take an edge that's 2 points, then I can only take that 1 in kind of that path.
Correct.
Okay.
Out of the starting path points, yes. And then once you've got the ones that are spent up for your edges, or for your paths, I should say, you get an additional 4 points of edges, which you can spend on any edge. You can put them into your path edges, but you can also spend them on other edges if you want.
You said we could combine path dots if they came to the same edge, didn't you?
Yes.
Cool.
Sorry, how many 6 you said?
It's 4 additional once you've bought your your path edges, I should say. All right, so where are we at on things? Everybody still shopping for edges? Do we have any questions about the edges and how they work?
I think I got them.
Awesome. What edges did you go with, Alexis?
So I want patron at level 2.
Okay.
I want 1 well.
Okay.
I want 2 levels in demolitions training.
I love it.
Miss Fix It, which takes 2. Yep. I want 1 in artifact, 1 in danger sense, and 1 in sniper.
I love it. Excellent. And we will build your artifact once we've completed building the characters. It'll be a fun little exercise, and having some input, I should say, from your allies will also help, I think. Mitch, what did you go with for your edges?
Big-hearted, artistic talent, magic.
Okay, so like a stage magician type thing?
Yeah, like oh man, that guy from WandaVision and Ant-Man, like he just does like the card flip.
Oh yeah, yes.
And then weak spots, hair trigger reflexes, and also 2 dots and artifact. So
love it. Awesome. Great. This is gonna be fun. Okay. Ryan, what did you go with for edges?
I'm just picking my last 2 now, and then I've got the 4 extra points to spend, obviously. But so far, I've got Cool Under Fire, which is shared between Origin and Rollpath. Hardy, Direction Sense, and Danger Sense.
Cool.
I've got 1 dot left for the Society Path.
I have 4 left for the extra stuff.
You could always throw that into artifact, and we could just be a super sciencey group.
Uber it. That actually sounds like fun. I'll probably do that.
Okay, so now we come to the point where we apply our template. So that essentially means we create your character as a talent.
Is there a limit to edge character creation? Because if I get 2 from my roll path or my society path, and I throw 3 more in artifact, I can get 5 artifact.
You can. Yeah. Absolutely. If you want to, yeah, absolutely. You do have that option. So going into setting up your template, that begins on page 156. So you have to define your moment of inspiration. What caused your character to first begin utilizing flux? Often this happens in a high stress situation, but doesn't necessarily need to be. There are a list of suggestions on pages 156 through 158. Let me know if any of those leap out at you.
Oh, I think life-threatening accident.
Oh,
The
yeah,
stunt went wrong.
Absolutely. 100%.
Sudden realization.
Excellent. And when you choose that moment of inspiration, you gain an additional dot in your associated attribute.
Yay.
And so what was it you had chosen, Mitch? I'm sorry?
Sudden realization.
Okay.
I figure I know how to make the world a better neighborhood.
I love it.
We're going to make it happen.
Any thoughts on moment of inspiration for you, Alexis?
I think I'm gonna go with tragic loss.
Love it. Okay. Any idea of what that loss might have been?
Yeah, my twin sibling.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. And then next on the agenda for building your talent. Did you apply your extra attribute dot?
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah, so any mental, which is a good thing for your character setup. Now you will get to choose gifts, and you'll get to distribute points into your facets of your inspiration. The facets are explained on page 153. The destructive facet is direct action and using the force approach. Intention is what drives it. The intuitive facet is excelling in areas where quick action, quick wits, and quick tongue is helpful. It's connected to finesse, and luck is what it harnesses the most. And the reflective facet is capacity for patience, careful thought, planning, and focus. It's a measure of resilience. It relies on the resilience approach and using skill to accomplish goals. So those are kind of the basic feels and themes of those. You have 3 points to spend between those facets and may spend them however you choose. The way you spend them will determine what your starting inspiration score is.
All right, everyone, let's do reflective.
Just everybody going 3 dots in reflective.
You know what? I'm gonna put 1 dot in intuitive, just because sometimes you gotta have just a little bit of luck.
That's fair.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. Once you've got that sorted out, and what were you doing for your facets, Ryan?
1 in destructive, 2 in intuitive.
Love it. All right. So once you've got those sorted out, you calculate your starting inspiration. You calculate your starting inspiration by I was just looking at it. Yes. Okay. You have a single point of inspiration, and then you increase your inspiration by 1 anytime one of your facets reaches rank 1, rank 3, or rank 5. So if you have a 3 in one of your facets, your starting inspiration is 3. If you have a 1 in 2 of your facets, your starting inspiration is 3. If you have 1 in each of your facets, your starting inspiration is 4. Make sense? Wonderful. Sorry, my neighbor apparently picked this moment to mow their lawn.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't know how much noise pollution that's creating, but I apologize to anyone who can hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Well, that's good.
I like how we're all like self-conscious about outside noise, but I don't think we've heard anything from any of our background stuff yet.
You know, it's those quality microphones and Zoom doing its bit.
Heck yeah.
And then the last thing that you need to worry about for your template, for your advantages, is you each get 4 gifts. Those gifts begin in chapter 7. You need to have one from each of your paths, and then you can have one gift of wherever it comes from. Each of your paths will list a set of gifts. I'll go ahead and copy the Pharaoh's Lightkeeper's gifts into the Zoom chat.
Awesome.
And then the rest are right close to one another with the origin and roll paths, so that shouldn't present a problem. As long as the gift is offered by a path and you meet its prerequisites, you can take the gift.
I'm not finding gifts for the other.
Yeah, they're not there.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. They're on a chart at the beginning of the talent template. So page 155. Those ones that I just pasted in the Zoom chat are the Pharaoh's Lightkeepers, which are all skill gifts. They're Enigmas, Humanities, and Larceny. And so as you're going through the gifts, they're broken down into luck gifts and aptitude gifts. Luck gifts are basically just sort of neat ways reality bends around you. Whereas aptitude gifts are more based on you actually being good enough at a thing for a thing to happen. Make sense? Wonderful.
Oh, and it's just anything with like gifts or knacks or merits. It takes me forever to make the right to decide on what I want.
Well, that's fine. While you're working on those, does anyone else have any? Oh, hold on, 2 seconds. Stop here. Oh my God. Oh my God, focus. There we go. All right, cool. Let me just. There you go. Now we're reset. Okay, so. Is everyone still looking at gifts then?
I have my gifts chosen. I'm just circling back to pick a skill trick now.
Beautiful. Which gifts did you pick out?
So from the Lightkeepers, I'm going to do Enigmas.
Okay. Which gift was that under Enigmas?
Maybe I didn't do them properly. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, so I am also confused.
Yeah, because like it has the keywords that we can pick out.
Right. So you'll pick out, if you go into the gifts section and starting on page, what is it? Page 195. Each section that is broken down has a list of gifts underneath it.
Okay.
Yep. So
was
you'll
not
select
where I was looking at.
you select specific gifts from within those purviews. But if you know that those are the kind of areas you want to focus on, that'll make gift selection a little bit easier. And if none of those look appealing to you, you can always swap over to some other options. Did that answer your question, Mitch? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, that's fine. I was interrupting. You said we got one extra gift as well, not tied to path.
Right. So you get one from each path and then one free gift. That can be from anywhere as long as you meet the prerequisite.
Okay, so for instance, like my background path or origin path is suburbia, and so it says attribute keyword is manipulation, and then skill keyword is culture, empathy. I can pretty much look at those three columns or those three categories within gifts and then choose something.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now we're trucking.
another thing that you can do, just an FYI, if you go into the character sheet where it says character notes, you can actually click on that, and you can paste the text of your gifts, any other relevant rules, things along those lines in that section.
Pretty
There's
cool.
even some formatting things you can do, like if you want to get real fancy, you can put in bullets and different headers for things. So it's a neat little feature. The one thing I will warn you about, if you do that, there is no like text wrap on those, and everywhere where there's a line break in the PDF, it will show up as a paragraph break when you're posting your notes over. So you may need to tweak them a little bit, so on and so forth. But you don't have to do that like now. You can do that at your leisure, or you can just not and scroll a lot when you look at it. It's up to you. I just thought I'd throw that out there as an opportunity.
Full disclosure, I've moved my 2 and 1 facets around, so it's now destructive 2, intuitive 1.
Okay. Yeah, as you interact with your gifts, you might look at that and be like, "Ooh, I should put a point or two in destructive because this is dope." Things like that. You might change your facets around a little bit as you're shopping for gifts. Because some of them are very neat. Is everything making a fair bit of sense at this point?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Can you just tell me how many gifts are we supposed to have?
You get one for each path,
Okay.
and then you get one that can be from any path, or from it can be any gift that you qualify for.
Okay.
So anything you meet the prerequisite for, if there is one. And yeah, the 2 paths should be in that chart, and then the 3rd path is listed in the Zoom chat. And once we get that done, there's just a little bit more calculation to do, and then we can get into artifact creation, which is going to be super fun for this group, I think.
Yes, I have a 1-dot artifact as well.
Yeah, I believe everyone took one, right? Still digging through your gifts there, Ryan?
No, I'm inputting them into the sheet now.
Beautiful. What'd you wind up going with?
Fist of Stone.
Love it.
Daredevil.
Also love it.
The Hook.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that one.
You can figure out what someone wants just by talking to them.
Oh, okay, cool.
And on my social skills, I've got like 2 dots in empathy, but I can spend inspiration for 2 enhancement towards trying to figure out what they want.
Nice.
And then if I do know that, there's 2 enhancement using it against them. And for my extra gift, I took Murderous Totality.
Oh, I love Murderous Totality. You're like, it reminds me of Bullseye.
Yes.
Very cool. How about you?
Now,
go ahead.
Sorry, I did see that it was prerequisite aim 3 or close combat 3. I'm assuming that, I mean the close combat one, but I'm assuming I can still use it with ranged weapons as well then.
With the thrown tag, yeah.
Cool.
Because the thrown tag is included in that, right? And the tags you can add to it?
Where is it? Oh yeah, this works for both melee and ranged weapons, usually thrown.
Yep. Yeah, as long as you meet one of the prereqs. You wouldn't use close combat when you threw it, though.
No, obviously. I've got like aim 2, I think it is.
Yeah. How about you, Mitch? Still working on...
Yeah.
Have you gotten any of them so far? Are you still
Yeah,
in
I
full
got.
browse?
I know that feel with empathy, and
Nice.
damn, I respect you.
Also nice. Yeah, I know that feel definitely has a Mr. Rogers vibe to it.
I know, right? I love it.
How about you, Alexis?
I am just looking at the science gift. There's a couple that are in a different section, so.
Oh yeah, because some of them are double up. Eureka is super handy if you plan on building any super science stuff in game. And there is an option to do basically jury rigging, like you slap something together that gets it done for a scene. So just throwing that out there is something to consider under science.
Okay, so what I have so far is what tripwire?
Okay.
Disarming candor,
Nice.
cut the red wire, and Fortean experience.
I love it. And 40 and experience, that's the one that gives you, is that like one of the flux recognizers?
It basically means that if like I'm doing research and there's any sort of evidence that's been tampered with or like untrue or somehow garbled, I'll be able to know that it's, not correct and
Okay.
Things like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for my other two, I chose fight choreographer and repeating history.
Nice. Love it. All right. So does that wrap everyone's gifts?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. You all get one attribute point you can spend wherever you like, as long as it doesn't take it above 5, unless you have the superior trait edge.
Ooh, cool.
And then when that's done, we have one last thing to calculate before we build y'all's devices, and that is your health. Each of you will start with 3 injury conditions. So those little boxes that are next to them, you'll fill in 1 bruised, 1 injured, and the maimed box. And then if your stamina is equal to 3, you get an additional injured level. And if your stamina is equal to 5, you get an additional bruise level.
I didn't actually intend to do that, but I'm at stamina 5.
Excellent. So, is there anything that anyone has missed? Alexis, are you still looking for a skill trick?
Okay. Yes, I am.
No, you're totally fine. Go for it. We'll tackle the big one first. You have, Mitch, you have Artifact 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just so that you're aware on how this works, Artifact 5 is like super top of the line, far beyond what is currently available technologically. So it really opens us up to do a lot of things. All equipment, whether it's flux derived or not in Trinity Continuum, operates.
Sorry, Travis, because I might. It says we're also getting 4 extra points of edges.
Yeah, I already gave you those.
Oh, gotcha.
The 4 beyond your 6? Like the 4 beyond your roll path?
Yeah, sorry.
I gave them out to you earlier, that's all.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate keeping me honest. every item, weapons, armor, equipment, has enhancements and tags. Tags basically describe what it can and can't do. Artifacts, super science equipment, also have the ability to hold edges and gifts. So if you look at page 91, you'll see the chart for basically building your artifact. Now you can select one of the prefabricated artifacts that's in this book, and it's totally fine, and we move on with our day. Or you can build your own. If your artifact is rank 3 or higher, you have to divide up your available points between the maximum enhancement and the edge dots. So you can also buy gifts for your thing on a 1 gift for 1 dot basis. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of. What kind of item were you thinking about for your artifact, Mitch?
Oh man.
Do you want something that's an ancient mystic relic, or do you want something that's a super modern, super science invention?
I don't know. I think I have to figure out what it does first. Okay. For me, I'm thinking like either something to do with his super niceness or his attempt to be a hero.
Well, another thing that you might want to consider, and this is where things can get into some serious fun here. So there are 3 types of any super science is called an invention. Mm-hmm. There are 3 kinds of inventions. You can have a device, which most are. It's a trinket, a doodad, a diddly bob that does a thing. But you can also have compounds, which are like, a chemical. So for example, if you had, if you wanted to go like pulp hero / comic book with it, maybe you have super soldier pills that you can take that grant you these enhancements, while
it's like the morning coffee.
Right, exactly. Or like Hour Man, like, oh, I take this and I've got power for an hour, so let's do it because I'm going to be taking a nap afterward. And then there's organisms, which can be like you have a pet or a servant of some sort that's genetically engineered and created, or they can also be enhancements to your own body.
What was in my mind right now is he approaches a fight with a nice sweater vest, and then he rips off the sweater vest, and like he has like this badass bionic sexy 6-pack abs of metal. He's like, let's welcome to my mofo neighborhood.
Yeah, we can do that if that's the way you want to go with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that guy, Mortal Kombat. When he had those like little robotic arms.
Okay, so you want some replacement parts.
Yeah.
All right. So the maximum enhancement is 6, and you have up to 10 dots worth of edges, including you can do powered edges at this point, I think. And you can do style edges. So you also can have up to 5 dots worth of tags. So if you wanted to build that out, you could set up you're talking like a cybernetic torso, right?
Yeah.
So you could set that up as armor tags if you wanted to. Use your 5 tag bonuses to buy armor tags with it. And you get all the basics that come with armor for free. So we'll start with the armor and we'll build our way out. Does that sound like a good way to do this?
Yeah.
All right. So your armor is going to have, it starts off just having a soft rating of 1.
Right.
And you have to choose whether it is bullet resistant, impact resistant, or slash resistant.
Bullet.
Okay. So that's our starting point. Okay.
Cool.
Now you have 5 points of tags you can spend on that armor. You can spend 2 points of tags to make that armor composite, so it would be effective against a second type of damage. You can also spend 3 points of armor to make it complete, which would make it effective against all 3.
Oh, let's do complete.
Okay.
So how many of that again?
Well, that costs 3 of your tags. You have 5.
Okay, sweet.
So then you could either spend to make it concealable is 2. You could also buy hard armor, which would be 1. So concealable would make it harder for people to tell that you've got that build. Hard armor gives you an actual extra injury condition box. And soft armor, whatever your total soft armor is the increase in the difficulty for somebody to use the inflict injury stunt on you. So normally that costs 1 success. Right now with your soft armor, that will be 2. You could raise your soft armor as high as 3 with tags, which would make it difficulty 3 for them to hurt you.
Let's do soft armor. 2 points in that. So total 3.
Yep. So your soft armor becomes 3, and you just note that you have the soft armor tag twice.
Excellent.
Yep. So anytime someone tries to injure you, they have to get 3 successes.
Yeah.
All right. Now that the armor tags are there, now we get into the really fun part of this, which is you have 10 points worth of edges or gifts that you can put into that armor. The first 4 that you spend are fine regardless.
Mm-hmm.
After that, each point you spend on the armor will reduce the enhancement that you gain from that artifact. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. A couple things I would recommend doing if you're talking like a mechanical torso. There's a couple of gifts that also give you extra armor.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a gift, I think it's called like plot armor or something like that. Let's see. Armor of Fate. That gives you an additional level of soft armor.
Oh, heck yeah. All right, we're doing that. Man, how do I, is there a place on this sheet where I can put all this? Oh, my God.
You could either try to squeeze it into a gear entry, which you could actually. Or put it under like weapons would probably be the best place to put it.
All right. So what's that gift called again?
Armor of Fate.
Excellent. And that gives me another soft.
Yep. So now we're at 9 dots total. Another thing to look at would be maybe some of your stamina gifts.
Yeah.
Might be a good idea, right? Cast iron stomach is nice. It mitigates the effects of poison. It's on page 204 of the stamina gifts.
Ooh, definitely Indomitable Will.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
All right.
Unrelenting might be handy.
Which one's that? Where's that in?
It's stamina gift, page 204. You spend a point of inspiration to ignore penalties from your injury conditions for the rest of combat.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Unrelenting.
You want to get really gross?
Yeah.
So that's 3 you've spent, right?
Yeah. Armor of Fate, Indomitable Will, and Unrelenting.
There's a fairly disgusting one. What's it under? I think it's under close combat. Let me see here. Makes for a really gross combination with the one I just suggested. Last ditch effort.
Where is that? Under close combat? Or
It's under might. I'm sorry. It's on page 203. You take an injury condition and gain its penalty and points of inspiration.
Oh, heck yeah.
But if you have that in tandem with the other gift, then you're not taking the wound for it until the end of the scene. I mean, you're taking the wound, you're just not taking the penalty.
Yeah.
Okay, so now any further gifts or edges that you take will reduce the available enhancement of the armor.
I think this is good.
Okay. You don't want to throw any edges on it? There's a couple of edges that might be of interest, particularly if you're wanting to bump that armor rating up.
Yes.
Let's see. I think there's a couple of edges that provide that.
Tough Cookie. Yeah, your character always has a soft armor rating of at least 1, even when not wearing any armor. It may add his armor rating to the value of any armor he wears.
Yep. So that increases your soft by 1 again.
Yeah, up to 5. Tough Cookie. Okay, so that was 2. So I have what? 2 more?
That one's 2. So you've got, how many gifts did you take? 4?
Yeah.
Right? So that's 6 total you've spent. So you'll have, if you don't buy anything else, you still have 4 enhancement. That enhancement would apply to basically any time you would need to roll stamina. It won't apply to like resisting injuries necessarily, but it might apply if you need to make a roll or something like that. Or you can go for more edges.
I'll stick with that.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have an enhancement of 4. You have soft armor of 5 that is composite. So you've just got like a metal ass chest that is largely inviolate.
Is it enhancement 4?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
My character's done.
And so Ryan, you had artifact 1, correct?
Yes, I think I've got it statted out. I think.
Okay. What do you got?
So it's a Super Science MP3 player.
Okay, nice. I love it.
Max enhancement of 2, which I'm gonna be thinking would be like playing music through it to alter atmosphere.
Excellent. I dig it.
And tying in with that, 1 dot of mental, the first dot of photographic memory, like just play soothing music to focus on what I'm trying to memorize.
Excellent.
But it is password protected. That's the flaw.
I love it. That's beautiful. You don't necessarily need to take a flaw.
Oh,
you can. You do not have to.
I mean, I won't if I don't have to, obviously.
Yeah, there's nothing in the artifact creation rules that makes you take one.
I thought it said at the bottom, apply a number of flaws equal to the item's rank.
Does it? Is that in the artifact?
It's the
gift?
last sentence of the artifacts paragraph.
Oh, okay. Well, then we need to pick flaws.
So many flaws. I have to pick 5 flaws?
Well, 5 points worth of flaws.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
All right. Thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't realize that. In that case, excellent job building it, Ryan. Thank you.
And it helps that it's a 1 dot.
It does
help
help that it's
5 dots. I don't have. Sorry.
Yeah, and if you have 1 or 2 dot artifact, you get to take both the peak enhancement and the dots. You don't have to split them up. All right, so couple things you could take would be networked. There you go. It's a 5-point flaw. The item is inextricably bound to its user in some way, hardwired into their system using your own life force to fuel it, connecting directly to your central nervous system, or another kind of bond. Requires 1 momentum to use the item each time if the item is stolen or harmed. The character suffers consequences determined by the story guide and player when the flaw is chosen. In this case, it would be somebody took your chest, dude.
I know, right? It's a bit awkward, but
yeah, like I need that.
So you'll have to spend momentum to activate to gain the benefits of the armor. But that's.
Let's do it.
All right, networked. There's your 5 points. Yeah,
I did it.
If someone takes off with it, needless to say, you're going to have a problem.
It's my sweater vest. No.
All right, and then how many dots did you have in Artifact, Alexis?
1.
1, okay. So that's a relatively simple build. Did you know if you wanted to do a device, a compound, or an organism?
I want a device. I want to make a multi-tool.
Excellent. Easy peasy. So for a multi-tool, let's do you want that to, so we're going to have it'll have a +2 enhancement because it's a rank 1. So
Okay.
anytime you're using that tool, you'll get 2 enhancement on your roll. And we'll go over what that is momentarily. It's basically a bonus. And then you get to pick either 1 dot worth of edges for it or 1 gift.
Okay.
So some things that you might want to do is maybe throw a science or technology gift on it.
Yeah.
Quick fix might be nice.
That sounds good. Let's go and have a look.
it's just edges, I think, isn't it, according to the table? Not to be, that person.
For what?
It just says maximum edge dots in the book.
Right, but if you read down, you can use gifts too.
Oh, true. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. I appreciate keeping me honest. What's up?
Does this have to follow the same prerequisites that my character has?
It doesn't have to meet. You don't have to meet the prerequisites, but it will still operate the same way. You'll still have to spend inspiration for it, and it'll still be based off of your reflective facet.
Okay.
Make sense?
Then I like quick fix. Yeah.
All right. Dope. And then we have to pick a 1-point flaw for it. So the flaws are listed on page 98. Loyal to a fault is a really easy 1-point flaw that only works for you.
Yep.
All right. So everything is built, right?
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything remaining on their character that they have not yet assigned?
I figured out a skill trick.
You figured out a skill trick. What did you decide on?
Contemplative meditation. So when I have a problem that I'm trying to like research or suss through, in my enigmas, I just take a few minutes and I go into like a meditative trance, and then it lowers the number that you have to reach.
Beautiful. And one last thing, there's nowhere on this sheet, I don't believe, to note it, but you may want to record this in your notes just to be aware of it and to help keep me honest about it. You begin play with a number of points of momentum equal to the number of players times 3. So you will start with 9 momentum. Momentum can be spent to reroll dice on a 1-for-1 basis. You can spend momentum to activate skill tricks, some gifts, in some cases, your artifact. Things along those lines. I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with that, with the momentum section. In the rules, if you get a chance before next week. The other thing that you'll want to be very aware of is dramatic editing. It's kind of the core cool superpower that you get as a talent. If you look on page 154, it talks about ways in which you can regain inspiration, things you can spend your inspiration for. And one of those is dramatic editing. This allows you to alter events in the game. You can make a single small retroactive change or a slight advantage. Like, for example, you're in the middle of a pitched fist fight with someone, and you're like, well, I'd like to spend an inspiration for, they just hit me. I'd like to spend an inspiration that broke loose enough of this wall that I can pick it up and use it as a weapon when I hit them. It's 1 inspiration, that's fine. 2 inspiration are additional changes like a cache of guns, or all the security guards are colorblind. That would be 2 inspiration. So it's a slightly bigger scale. It affects more stuff. Having a character suddenly reappear after their apparent death, revealing a huge change of loyalty to a group or organization, revealing the villain is secretly the good guy, things that are like that big of a narrative shift, you can do for 3 inspiration. And it's very sort of free form, so it's about like pushing the story forward, finding neat little edits to put in. Oh, I had planned this the whole time. I spend an inspiration and I have this thing I really need in my pocket. Stuff like that. Does that make basic sense?
Is inspiration like, can we pool it together as a group?
With dramatic editing, you can work together as a group, but not no other expense of inspiration. And I would let you do it as a group. I don't know that it's actually specifically allowed by the rules, but I wouldn't say no to it.
Okay.
If you're all like, we'll each throw in 1 inspiration to make this level 3 inspiration change, that's fine by me.
Okay.
Because I think it's fun. The other 3 things, well, the 4 things that you'll need to remember, and we will go over this as we are in play as well. Your target number for all of your rolls is 7. It is pre-calculated into the sheet, but if for some reason the sheets fail and we need to move to analog dice or a different dice roller, I'm sorry, I said 7 and I meant 8. So to roll your dice on here, all rolls are generally, I will tell you what skill you need to roll, or you'll ask if you can roll a skill, and then I will ask you which approach you're going to take, so what attribute you're going to use. So for example, if you're investigating a crime scene, you might say, I'd like to roll my empathy. in which case you just click on empathy and it will send that to chat and it'll roll it for you. It counts the successes on that particular roll. There were none. And then I'll say, or you'll say, well, I'm going to rely on quick thinking, so I'm going to use my cunning. So you'll click on that as well. So each of your rolls will be, mostly it'll be 2 items, okay? So that one did get 1 success. You're good to go. If you get a 10, it counts as a success and it rolls again. That's already programmed into the dice roller. Should work just fine. The things that can affect your rolls are difficulty. So difficulty is the number of successes you need for it to count as a success. So if I tell you something is difficulty 2, you need 2 successes to have a base success. Everything above that are additional successes you can buy stunts with. Does that make sense? Cool. The other 2 aspects of rolls are complications and enhancements. Complications are a yes, but success. So for example, there might be a complication. You're in a fist fight on a wet roof. The wet roof is a complication of 2. You make your close combat and might hit, and you punch the person in the face. You get enough successes to damage them, but you don't get enough to pay for that complication. So you have to choose now. Do I pay off the complication or do I hit the person and hurt them? You choose to hit the person and hurt them. Complication goes unresolved. You slip and you maybe take an injury condition because the roof's wet. Or you say, no, I'll choose to not lose my footing and not do the damage. So the complication kind of gives you a narrative sort of lever. If you get enough successes, you just buy it off and it doesn't matter. But if you don't, then you have to make a choice. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And then enhancements can come from equipment, they can come from teamwork, they can come from all sorts of sources. But what they do is they count as bonus successes if you get a material success on the dice. So let's say this was your roll right here, but you had a tool that gave you an enhancement of 3, right? Your dice produce 1 success. So now with that enhancement, now you have 4 successes that you can then use to purchase stunts, meet difficulties, overcome complications. And I'm sure we'll have to go over all this again once we're in the thick of it repeatedly, but I wanted to at least get that out there and get everyone familiar with it and see if there are anything about that that doesn't leap out as making a whole bunch of sense to anyone.
Sounds good.
All right, so now we come to the hardest part of a character creation session. Did y'all come up with names yet?
Yeah, I already got my name. I'm cheating.
Ryan, please introduce us to your character.
Ariadne Devine, or Divine, Devine.
Excellent.
She, her.
Excellent. And if you would like, you can go up to that. You can either edit it at the name place, or actually, if you just click on that section underneath your picture on your character sheet, you can edit the name.
The picture doesn't really match, but
no,
it's a
and
picture.
You're welcome to drop in a different one if you'd like to between now and next session, or I can assign a different one if you have a physical description in mind. I can try to find one. All right, and what was your character's name, Mitch?
Chibi.
Chibi?
Yeah.
Excellent. Does Chibi have a last name, or is it just Chibi?
Just Chibi.
Excellent.
Mr. Chibi.
That's really ominous. Standing there, robotic torso. It's just Chibi.
Excellent. And then, Alexis, did you have a name?
I am Clara Nadir.
Beautiful. I love it. And lastly, just to make sure that everybody is comfortable and having a good time, I always do employ safety tools. My personal taste is the X card. You can make an X with your hands. You can type X in the Zoom chat. You can just say X. If we run into something that is not comfortable for you, You are free to say X at any time. We'll stop the scene. We'll backtrack, figure out what the problem was, excise that from the situation, and move forward with a different narrative path. Does that make sense to everyone? Are there any areas of no-go that we would like to make sure do not show up in the game? I will go first. I never include SA in my games. Sexual assault, if anyone is watching at home and doesn't know what SA stands for. I don't include it in my games. It just doesn't happen. No need to bring that to a role-playing table. Are there any no-go areas for you, Ryan?
Cancer and cruelty to animals.
Okay. Any no-go areas for you, Mitch?
Homophobia.
Okay. So just none in the game?
You can. I guess that's a veil.
Okay, so keep it off screen.
Yeah.
No villains that are engaging in that kind of thing, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to make sure I understand it.
Yeah, no, totally.
That's totally fine. And Alexis, anything for you?
Suicide and violence against children. I'm okay if it happens like in the world as part of the narrative. I don't want to be directly involved in any actions or anything where that's happening.
Okay. I'm just typing up the list so that I have it.
Yeah, if it helps, the cruelty to animal things is more a veil, but the cancer is a hard line.
Okay. Well, these are all absolutely easy to avoid. I don't foresee any problems. I just want to make sure that I've got them and that they are correct, and I didn't miss anything. Is that all in there?
Seems fine.
I got everybody's, and I got all of everybody's. Cool. All right. Yeah, I don't expect any of those will be an issue. I am a human being who occasionally makes the mistake, which is part of why we have the X cards. Also, part of why we have them is because sometimes you inadvertently step on a squick in the middle of the game. You were unaware was there. In the interest of avoiding that being an issue, our reason for the season, the whole point of this is everybody having fun. And you can't have fun if you're squicked out. So having said that, just so that I'm aware of it and sharing it so that people in the audience are aware of it, I tend to, without boundaries in place, dive into slightly gory explanations of things. So I just want to make sure that's not going to more in the action sequences than anything else. I will lead into highly cinematic, big sprays of blood and thing. They've got blood pressure like an anime villain. Things like that. So I just want to make sure that that's cool with everyone, and if it's not, I can be aware of it and try to tone it down.
I'm right there with you. So
okay, cool. I think we have. We know we're going to be doing something with the heist, and we know we're going to be dealing with some high-level sci-fi. We have a cyborg in the group, which is neat, and a character with a multi-tool, so there's built-in synergies there. All right. Well, I think unless there's any other questions, comments, concerns, narrative ideas, yes, ma'am.
Aren't we supposed to have like some gear? Do we not start this with some gear? Did I miss that?
With some what? I'm sorry?
Gear?
Oh, gear. Equipment. So we touched on it. We didn't dive into specifics, and I apologize for that. Let me clear that up. So like with the artifacts, your items are explained through tags. So if you go into, you basically have four types of gear. You have equipment, which my ruling on equipment is basically anything that offers an enhancement equal to your wealth, that's mundane and available and around in the real world, you can just have on hand.
Okay.
So, for example, a cell phone would be like a +1 enhancement. It lets you make phone calls and it lets you access the internet. You just have one. We don't need to worry about putting that on your sheet. Where it really starts to become concerns are as if you're having weapons, armor, or vehicles. Generally speaking, the way that works, again, if you go starting on page 123, it breaks out how weapons and armor work. Any weapon that you have will begin with 1 tag and operate at melee range, right? Or you choose melee or ranged, I believe. And then you get 1 free tag. Any additional tags you want to buy on that weapon, you have to have wealth dots equal to the tags.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have a wealth of 1, you can put 1 additional tag on your weapon. You have to choose which damage type it does when you buy it.
Okay.
And that's pretty much that. Most of them, you know, and it has a few listings for basic things. And I personally don't have an issue with any of you starting with any of the weapons in that base chart, because you're part of a group. I'm not going to be too concerned about wealth tags. If you want to start building customized weapons and stuff, then we'll get into your wealth and whatnot. If you just want to grab stuff off that base chart, you're welcome to do so.
Okay.
Armor works the same way. It starts off picking 1 type of damage that it resists, and it has a soft, it gives you 1 point of soft armor. You may then add tags up to your wealth.
Okay.
Vehicles, kind of the same thing. You start off with a vehicle that begins at size 1, handling +0, and speed 2. And then you can add tags equal to your wealth.
So that being said, Ryan, are you planning on starting with a vehicle that...
I don't have any wealth. The way I was reasoning it was like Aridney gets given the vehicles on set to drive.
Yeah,
she's good at driving, but she doesn't actually own the vehicles herself.
That's totally fine. I mean,
it's like a what is it? The A-team like minivan for our needs.
Yeah, I mean, that is an option. Also, I would let you. How many dots of patron are floating around between all of you?
I have 2 patron and 1 well.
You have 2 patron, 1 well. So, I mean, you can requisition equipment too.
Okay.
And again, with the weapons, vehicles, armor, if you want something that's in those basic charts, I don't really have an issue with it. As far as the vehicles go, I'd be fine with anything except for the APC, the private jet, or the jet fighter. Otherwise, if you want to start with those, that's fine.
Well, hold on. Let's make an argument for the jet fighter. Obviously, we have one.
If you retool one of your characters so that you have the loaded edge, you can have a jet fighter. I think it requires wealth 5 to buy the loaded edge, something like that.
All right, who's in on it?
I mean, they're nice.
It is generic pilot skill, right?
Military, you have to have a proper specialty.
For transparency, then I will add the sports car to my sheet.
Cool. I'm fine with that. If you want to have a leather jacket or a flak jacket, totally fine. If you want to have a pistol, it's fine. It's the one place where I'm going to just be largely generous, because I don't think any of that's going to give you an unfair advantage. And while you may not have a wealth dot, you've been around for a while. Did that answer your equipment question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll probably try and start with like a leather jacket, and just a basic gun.
Yeah, leather jacket and a pistol.
Yeah,
that's fine. You don't need to worry about wealth ratings for those.
Okay.
Totally cool. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, then I think that it is enough to make us dangerous, and we will begin play next week at the same time on the same channel. I'll have a lovely heist story with some sci-fi elements ready to rock and roll for you. And yeah, in the interim, if you have any questions or concerns, you can feel free to hit me up on email. I will be able to access your sheets through Astral Tabletop, so I'll probably look them over the week to help with some planning stuff. And if there's any issues with them, a point you forgot to spend or a place where you hit too many dots, I'll let you know and we'll get it sorted. In the meantime, I would like to just remind anyone who happens to be watching this at home to please be sure to either head to your friendly local gaming store and ask them for Trinity Continuum Core, or pick it up at Drive-Thru RPG or Indie Press Revolution or Studio 2. It's available all those places. And if you haven't yet done so, please follow this channel so you know when we go live. Subscribe. Helps us keep the lights on, lets you get instant access to VODs. And I'll give everyone a chance to say their goodbyes. I'll start. I've been Travis Legge. I've been the story guide and have been he, him. And I want to thank the audience for watching and thank the players for joining us, because it's been huge fun. Alexis, why don't you give us your pertinence, please?
All right. I'm Alexis Taylor. Next time I will be playing as Clara Nadir, and you can find me on Instagram at Secluded Moment.
Beautiful. Mitch, let's get your pertinence, please.
Yeah, penny for a tail. I will be playing Cheaty, just your average friendly neighbor, trying to do what's best in the world. And yeah, that's about it. Just super excited to be a part of this.
Excited to have you here. Thank you. And last but most certainly not least, Ryan, please give us your pertinence.
Yeah, I'm full disclosure. I've never really played a brawling character before, so this is going to be 100% interesting. And feel free to yell at me or critique or whatever, or praise me on Twitter at Comrade Bubbles.
Heap the praise at their Twitter.
Yeah, that's really it.
Excellent. Well, once again, I would like to thank everyone and just remind you, if you've not yet done so, please go get stuck. It's good for everyone around you. And wash your hands, wear a mask, take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll see you again real soon.